Hello, Backyard Foundry friend. Today I'm going to be casting a Christmas tree ornament, and it's part of our Facebook competition. I'll leave a link to that Facebook group if you want to join our competitions in the future. That would be awesome. Spared no expense in getting a pattern from my favorite pattern store, Dollar Tree. Spared no expense here. So these are little plastic patterns, and I'm going to do the snowflake today because the snowflake has a flat back, so I've got two of these and I'll be able to glue one on the back of the other. Show you how to do that. Okay, so here my flask is together. I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart, and this is the middle line, parting line. So we're gonna have to flip that over so we can have the pattern right in the middle. I use this grease strainer to put my facing sand on. Using green sand today. That way we'll have nice small particles on top of our pattern. Here you can see I got the facing sand over the pattern. Okay, and now we're going to pour some sand in. And we're going to press it around the edges first. Then we're going to ram it fairly hard. Actually, not too hard in this. Fill it up the rest of the way. See, I usually have a piece of wood to scrap the top of this off. I'll just use my flask today. There we go. So let's turn that over. Let's see what it looks like. So this pattern gonna fit right on top of there. It's actually gonna make it for a very large ornament. It's gonna be heavy. Okay, I'm gonna give it a drop of hot glue in the middle here to hold it together. Okay, so now we're gonna use some of our special Johnson's parting powder. Gonna give that a nice liberal coat. Put the top of the flask on. Now we're gonna get some facing sand. Okay. Now I'm gonna put my sprue and risers in. This is a plastic pipe, hollow pipe. So I went down to here. Let's see how far that was in the flask. It should be just about to the bottom, to the parting line, I mean. I'll go ahead and go the whole way to the parting line. Go down there. Go a little past the parting line. It doesn't really matter at this point. Then I'm going to put a riser over on this side. Actually, okay, now we're going to pull it apart. So we're going to tap it one way, then the other. Okay, so our pattern stayed down there. Here's where the sprue came down. Make a little basin here. And we'll make a little channel over to the vent. Make that fairly small. Same thing on the sprue side. Vent for the metal to pour into the pattern. Where the pattern was. I should have actually used a little larger flask because this is close to the edge. Okay, then we're going to take the pattern out. So we give it a little tap. And we'll turn it upside down. How about give it a little tap upside down? There we go. Now we'll give the other side a little tap. Put the flask back together and let's get some metal melting. Okay, before I light the furnace, I'm going to show you some of my ingots that I'm going to use here. Got some brass ingots from my ingot tray. Just going to put those in, get the melt started. And I also got some locks and keys and stuff. Oh, there's my crayon, we won't use that. Here's my lock cylinder with a key in it. And another lock cylinder. And that should be plenty of metal. Alright, let's go ahead and get this furnace fired up. Okay, I let it get warmed up like that a little bit. And then I pull the choke back and let it roar. Okay, so I turned off the furnace so you can hear me do this. The metal's pretty much melted. I'm gonna go ahead and skim off the dross now. Okay, here we go. Have just enough metal. You can see it coming up in the riser and in the sprue. So it looks good. The crucible back in the furnace so that it can cool down slowly. Okay, so we've let this cool all day. Ready to do a shakeout. I have a Star Wars bucket. How cool is that? Borrowed that from probably my grandson. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Okay, so here we go. Looks like the flask's gonna come apart pretty easy because it should, because the bottom is where the piece is. Right. Looks pretty good from there. Oh yeah. That sand was nice and dry from the heat of the casting. Well, It's not too bad. It's got a little flashing. It's got a little flashing around the edges, but really it's not too bad. If I ran a wire brush across that, it would shine up really nice. But for this competition, we're not allowed to shine it up at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the sprues, the sprue and the riser, and we'll call it good. And I might go ahead and drill a hole through there. But the pattern held together pretty well and had just enough metal to fill it up. You can see how my sprue shrunk and got hollow way down in there. There we go. Did have a little bit of shrinkage on this side right there. But overall, it turned out pretty well, especially for how coarse my sand was.